There is something disturbing about how Bruce Wayne transformed into the Dark Knight. It wasn't just the tragedy he witnessed as a child, nor the fortune he inherited, nor even the symbol he chose to wear. What truly shaped Batman was something much deeper, something that few realize when observing his stories. It was the philosophy he embodied, an ancient philosophy that dates back centuries before Gotham existed, a wisdom that the Roman Stoics practiced amidst wars, betrayals, and the chaos of their times. Batman is not just a vigilante, he is the modern embodiment of Stoicism in action, a man who transformed his pain into discipline, his fear into absolute control, and his vulnerability into unbreakable strength. And today, I will reveal the 7 Stoic rules that Batman follows religiously and that can transform you into someone mentally unbreakable, someone whom no one can shake, intimidate, or defeat psychologically. What makes Batman fascinating is not his technology, his gadgets, or his wealth. It is his mind. It is the way he processes trauma, how he faces fear, how he maintains control when everything around him crumbles. He lives in a corrupted city, surrounded by psychopaths, betrayed by allies, constantly tested by the worst aspects of humanity. And yet, he remains steadfast. His mental discipline is as sharp as any blade, as solid as any armor. This is not fiction. This is applied philosophy. The Stoics taught exactly this, how to become immune to external chaos through internal mastery. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his Meditations that you have power over your mind, not over external events, and when you realize this, you find strength. Batman understood this lesson better than anyone. He does not control Gotham, but he completely controls himself. And it is precisely this capacity for self-control that makes him unbeatable. Today, you will learn the 7 Stoic rules that Batman applies every day, rules that transformed a traumatized boy into a symbol of relentless justice. These are not just comic book lessons. They are profound psychological principles that can restructure your mindset, strengthen your resilience, and make you someone who cannot be broken. If you are tired of being shaken by others' opinions, by circumstances you cannot control, by emotions that dominate you, then pay attention. Because what you are about to discover can radically change the way you face life. Batman was not born strong. He chose to be strong. And that choice begins with the philosophy he adopted. Get ready because the journey to becoming mentally unbreakable starts now. The first Stoic rule that Batman perfectly embodies is absolute control over what is within his reach and total acceptance of what is not. This is the essence of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that we must distinguish between what depends on us and what does not. What depends on us are our judgments, our desires, our aversions, our actions. What does not depend on us is everything else: others' opinions, the weather, the past, death. Batman deeply understood this when his parents were murdered before him in that dark alley. He could have spent his life lamenting what happened, questioning why it occurred, drowning in self-pity. But instead he channeled all his energy into what was under his control: his training, his discipline, his preparation. He accepted that he could not change the past, but he could completely shape his future through his daily choices. This mindset is what separates ordinary people from extraordinary individuals. Most people waste energy trying to control things that are beyond their reach. They complain about traffic, get irritated by opinions on social media, and become frustrated with others' behavior. Batman does not waste time on that. He focuses exclusively on what he can directly influence: his physical strength, his strategic intelligence, his combat skills, his deductive abilities. Everything else is noise. When the Joker tries to provoke him, when villains attempt to make him lose control, Batman remains steadfast because he has internalized this fundamental Stoic truth. He does not react emotionally to external chaos because he has already accepted that chaos is an inevitable part of Gotham. What he can control is his response to that chaos, and that is where he concentrates all his attention. Applying this rule in your life means stopping the waste of mental energy on situations you cannot change. Did someone unjustly criticize you? You do not control that person's opinion, but you control how you process that criticism. Did you lose an opportunity? You cannot turn back time, but you can prepare better for the next one. Is traffic chaotic? You do not control the flow of cars, but you control how you use that time, whether by listening to something productive or simply practicing patience. This shift in mental focus releases an absurd amount of energy that was previously wasted in frustration. Batman became mentally unbreakable because he does not fight against what he cannot change. He accepts and acts on what he can. And when you adopt this mindset, something extraordinary happens. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your own mental fortress. The people around you will notice that you are no longer easily shaken, that comments do not affect you, that obstacles do not paralyze you. And this happens because you have internalized Batman's first and most fundamental Stoic rule. Control the controllable, accept the uncontrollable, and concentrate all your strength on what truly matters. The second Stoic rule that Batman completely masters is obsessive preparation for the worst possible scenario. This is known in Stoic philosophy as premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, advised his disciples to regularly imagine the worst things that could happen, not out of pessimism, but as a strategy. When you mentally visualize the worst-case scenario in advance, you remove the element of surprise that paralyzes most people when real crises occur. Batman is the absolute master of this practice. He has contingency plans for literally everything. He has strategies to defeat each member of the Justice League, should any of them turn against humanity. He has emergency protocols for alien invasions, virus outbreaks, total social collapse. He does not wait for these things to happen to start thinking about solutions. He has already thought about them thousands of times and is prepared. This mindset of constant preparation is what makes Batman unbeatable in crisis situations. While others panic when something goes wrong, he simply activates the appropriate plan. While adversaries are paralyzed by fear of the unknown, Batman has already visualized that unknown countless times in his mind. This does not mean he lives in constant paranoia or anxiety. On the contrary, the premeditation of evils brings tranquility because it eliminates the fear of the unexpected. When you have already mentally faced your worst fears, when you have already devised strategies for your darkest scenarios, nothing catches you off guard anymore. You develop an unshakable calm because you know that whatever happens, you have already thought about it and have a plan. In your practical life, this Stoic rule of Batman means stopping avoiding thoughts about possible problems and starting to face them mentally. Are you afraid of losing your job? Instead of repressing that fear, sit down and devise a detailed plan of what you would do if that happened. How much money do you need to save? What skills do you need to develop? What professional contacts do you need to cultivate? When you do this, the fear drastically decreases because you have transformed a vague threat into a concrete challenge with planned solutions. Are you afraid of a serious illness? Get your checkups regularly, keep your health plan updated, cultivate healthy habits. The premeditation of evils is not morbid pessimism. It is strategic optimism. It is recognizing that bad things can happen and choosing to be prepared rather than vulnerable. Batman applies this in every aspect of his existence. He trains exhaustively not because he expects to be defeated, but precisely to ensure that he will not be. He studies each villain meticulously not because he fears them, but because he respects the danger they represent and chooses to be prepared. This difference is crucial. Fear paralyzes, preparation empowers. When you internalize this second Stoic rule, you develop a deep confidence that comes from knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have already thought about it and have mental and practical resources to deal with it. The people around you will notice that you do not panic easily, that you remain calm in crises, that you always seem to have a plan. And this happens because you have adopted Batman's mindset regarding adversity. You do not wait for it to arrive unprepared. You anticipate it, study it, and prepare meticulously to face it with competence and control. The third Stoic rule that defines Batman is absolute mastery over his emotions through rational detachment. The Stoics called this apatheia, which does not, it means the absence of emotions, but rather not being controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius constantly wrote about the need to observe one's own emotions as an external spectator without being swept away by them. Batman is the perfect embodiment of this practice. He feels anger, fear, sadness, frustration, but he never allows these emotions to make decisions for him. He recognizes them, processes them, and then acts based on logic and strategy, not emotional impulse. This is especially evident in his interactions with the Joker, a villain who literally exists to provoke extreme emotional reactions. The Joker constantly tries to make Batman lose control, break his moral code, act out of revenge instead of justice. And every time Batman resists because he has completely mastered the Stoic art of emotional detachment, this ability did not come naturally to him. It was cultivated through years of rigorous mental discipline. After the death of his parents, young Bruce Wayne was consumed by anger and a desire for revenge. But during his years of training around the world, he learned that acting driven by volatile emotions would lead to his destruction or to becoming exactly what he fought against. So he developed an extraordinary ability to create space between stimulus and response. When something provokes him, he does not react immediately. He pauses, observes his internal emotional reaction, analyzes the situation objectively, and then consciously chooses how to respond. This pause changes everything. It is the difference between being a slave to your emotions and being their master. In Stoic philosophy, this concept is fundamental. Epictetus taught that it is not the events that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. Someone insults you. The insult itself has no power. It is your interpretation of the insult that creates the emotion of anger or humiliation. Batman understands this deeply. When villains try to humiliate him publicly, when allies question him, when Gotham citizens fear him instead of thanking him, he does not allow these external perceptions to define his inner peace. He maintains his center because he understands that his mission does not depend on others' approval. It depends only on his own integrity and purpose. Applying this third Stoic rule in your daily life means developing the habit of conscious pause. When something irritates you before reacting, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I reacting based on facts or emotions? Is this emotion helping me solve the problem? Or is it just making me feel worse? This simple pause creates a space of freedom where you can choose your response instead of being dominated by automatic reactions. When someone harshly criticizes you instead of exploding in defense or sinking into insecurity, observe the emotion arising, recognize that it is just a temporary chemical reaction in your brain, and then rationally decide whether the criticism has merit or not. If it does, learn from it. If it doesn't, discard it without harboring resentment. Batman has become mentally unbreakable because his emotions no longer control him. He fully experiences them. He is human, but they do not dictate his actions. This makes him unpredictable to his enemies who constantly try to manipulate him emotionally, and it makes him reliable to his allies who know he will make decisions based on logic even under extreme pressure. When you develop this level of emotional mastery, you become someone that people deeply respect because they know you are not volatile, not manipulable, not unstable. You become a rock amidst chaos, just as Batman has become for Gotham. And this transformation begins with the daily practice of observing your emotions without being swept away by them, recognizing that you are not your emotions. You are the awareness that observes them and chooses how to respond to them. The fourth fundamental Stoic rule that Batman perfectly exemplifies is the unwavering commitment to a purpose greater than oneself. The Stoics deeply believed that a life with purpose is a virtuous life, and that this purpose must transcend individual ego. Marcus Aurelius, even as the Emperor of Rome, saw his position not as personal privilege but as responsibility for the greater good. Batman embodies this completely. He does not fight crime for personal glory, recognition, or gratification. He has dedicated his entire life to an ideal, ensuring that no other child has to go through what he went through in that alley. This purpose is greater than his own safety, greater than his comfort, even greater than his own life. And it is precisely this dedication to something transcendent that gives him superhuman strength to continue when any normal person would have given up long ago. Purpose is the fuel of mental resilience. When you have absolute clarity about why you exist, why you wake up every day, why you face difficulties, you develop a psychological armor that nothing can penetrate. Without purpose, any obstacle seems insurmountable, any criticism seems devastating, any failure seems definitive. With purpose, obstacles become necessary steps, criticisms become irrelevant noise, failures become lessons. Batman faces situations that would break the sanity of most people. He sees constant horrors, faces literal and figurative monsters, is gravely injured repeatedly, loses allies, is misunderstood by the city he protects. And yet, he continues. Why? Because his purpose is crystal clear and unwavering. He is not doing this for recognition. He is doing it because it is right, because someone needs to do it, because this is his mission. The Stoics taught that we must live according to virtue, and for them, virtue meant courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. Batman personifies all these virtues through his commitment to his purpose. He demonstrates courage every night by facing Gotham's underworld. He demonstrates justice by never killing even when it would be easier. He demonstrates wisdom by using intelligence before brute force. He demonstrates temperance by living simply despite his wealth. And all of this flows from a well-defined central purpose that guides every decision he makes. In your own life, this fourth Stoic rule requires you to clearly define what your purpose is. It doesn't have to be saving an entire city, but it needs to be something greater than immediate personal gratification. It could be raising exceptional children who will contribute positively to the world. It could be mastering a specific skill that will help others. It could be building something lasting that will transcend your own existence. It could simply be living with absolute integrity in a world where that has become rare. What matters is not the external magnitude of the purpose, but the depth of your commitment to it. When you have this, when you wake up knowing exactly why you are here, you develop an inner strength that makes others' opinions irrelevant, that makes temporary comfort secondary, that makes difficulties an expected part of the journey. Batman does not waver because his purpose is greater than any individual pain he may feel. When the Joker kills Jason Todd, the second Robin, Batman is emotionally devastated, but he does not abandon his mission. When Bane breaks his back, he does not give up. He recovers and comes back stronger. When Gotham rejects him, he continues to protect the city anyway. This level of resilience is only possible when you are anchored in something much greater than yourself. Without transcendent purpose, suffering seems meaningless and unbearable. With a clear purpose, suffering becomes a necessary part of the journey towards something meaningful. So ask yourself honestly now, what is my purpose? What am I building that will matter in 5 years, 10 years, in my entire life? If you do not have a clear answer, this is the most important work you can do, because without purpose, you are adrift, vulnerable to any wave of difficulty. With a well-defined purpose, you become like Batman, someone who cannot be broken because they are committed to something infinitely greater than personal comfort or external recognition. The people around you will feel this difference. They will realize that you are not driven by external validation, that you have a clear mission, and this naturally inspires respect and admiration. You become mentally unbreakable because your strength does not come from favorable circumstances. It comes from unwavering purpose that no external circumstance can diminish or destroy. The fifth Stoic rule that Batman practices with surgical precision is the radical acceptance of impermanence and death. The Stoics were obsessed with memento mori, remember that you will die. This was not morbid, it was liberating. When you deeply internalize that your existence is temporary, that everything you love will eventually disappear, you stop wasting time on trivialities and start living with intensity and purpose. Seneca wrote that it is not that we have little time, it is that we waste much of it. Batman understood this truth at the most brutal moment possible when he saw his parents die before his eyes. In that traumatic instant, the illusion of permanence was destroyed forever. He learned in the most painful way that nothing is guaranteed, that the people you love can disappear in a second, that life is fragile and precious precisely for being finite. This acute awareness of mortality did not paralyze him in depression. It galvanized him into action. He decided that if his life would be short and uncertain, then every moment would need to count. Every night patrolling Gotham, every criminal apprehended, every life saved matters because it could be the last opportunity to make a difference. Batman does not postpone important missions, does not procrastinate essential training, does not waste time on empty distractions. He lives with the urgency of someone who viscerally understands that time is the only truly limited resource. And paradoxically, this awareness of death makes him more alive, more present, more focused than anyone who lives in the comfortable illusion that they have all the time in the world. Marcus Aurelius practiced daily meditation on his own mortality. He wrote that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. This perspective eliminates what is not essential. When you truly internalize that you could die today, that the people you love could leave today, you stop holding grudges over small offenses, stop postponing important conversations, stop living on autopilot. You wake up. Batman is perpetually awake in this sense. He never forgets that each patrol could be the last, that each ally could be lost at any moment. And it is precisely this awareness that makes him so effective because he leaves nothing for later. He acts with the full intensity of someone who knows that tomorrow is not guaranteed. Applying this fifth Stoic rule in your life means honestly confronting your own mortality. This is not being pessimistic, it is being realistic. You will die, everyone you love will die, everything you have built will eventually disappear. And when you truly accept this, not just intellectually but emotionally, a profound transformation occurs. That silly argument you were having with your brother suddenly seems absurdly insignificant. That project you have been postponing for months suddenly gains urgency. Those people you love but rarely express it to suddenly deserve your expression while there is still time. The awareness of death is the most powerful antidote against procrastination, against triviality, against wasting the precious life you have. Batman constantly faces death, and because of that, he values life more intensely than most. He does not kill because he understands the absolute value of each life, even the lives of his enemies. He risks everything repeatedly to save even a single person, because he understands that each life is a unique and irreplaceable universe. This reverence for life comes directly from his intimate familiarity with death. When you radically accept impermanence, you stop valuing what is temporary and superficial, material possessions, social status, appearances, and start valuing what truly matters. Character, deep relationships, meaningful contribution, personal integrity. Practice memento mori regularly. Every morning upon waking, remember that this could be your last day. This should not depress you. It should energize you. Who do you need to forgive while there is still time? What do you need to create while you still have the capacity? How do you want to be remembered when you inevitably depart? These questions reveal what is essential and eliminate what is noise. Batman has become mentally unbreakable because death no longer frightens him. He has faced it directly and made peace with it. This completely liberates him. When you are not afraid of dying, you are finally free to truly live. And when you are free to truly live, you become like Batman, someone who acts with absolute courage because he has already accepted the worst possible outcome and decided that even so, he will live with purpose, intensity, and meaning until the last moment. The sixth Stoic rule that defines Batman's mental strength is the relentless practice of self-discipline and self-control in all areas of life. The Stoics considered self-mastery the highest form of freedom. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming a philosopher, taught that no one is free who is not master of themselves. Batman exemplifies this at a level that borders on the superhuman. He controls his body through daily grueling physical training, maintaining peak human condition even without superpowers. He controls his mind through constant study, mastering dozens of disciplines from criminology to engineering. He controls his temptations, living simply despite billions of dollars at his disposal. He controls his most primitive impulses, maintaining his moral code even when revenge would be justifiable and easy. This iron discipline did not arise by chance. It was built brick by brick through consistent daily choices over decades. After deciding to become Batman, Bruce Wayne subjected himself to the most brutal training regimens imaginable. He studied with masters around the world, learned martial arts from dozens of different styles, developed his mind through extensive education in sciences, criminology, psychology, and tactics. And most importantly, he never stopped. Even after becoming Gotham's most effective vigilante, he continues training every morning, continues studying every case, continues honing every skill. For Batman, discipline is not something you practice until you get good at. It is something you practice forever because the moment you relax is the moment someone dies.